Okay, I hit something wrong there, but moving along with my record store day part two, I guess we'll call it. The other thing is another 10-inch. This is the Parliaments, who of course went on to become, this George Clinton went on to become Funkadelic and Parliament, P-Funk. And these are early recordings from 67 to 68. Their first Funkadelic album came out in 1970. First 45, I think, in 69. And they were with, I don't know how you say that, but Rivolo or Rivolot Records. I think they were with Motown for a time too. He was there as a songwriter or something. But 6 songs on here, and neat cover. This was, I'm not sure how many copies of this were made, but there's black vinyl again. There's the label, nice thick record. So I'm looking forward to that. Funkadelic and Parliament, great soul and funk music. This is probably more Motown 60-ish sounding. I've heard they did do a 45 in 66 or 67. It sounds pretty Motown, but so Parliament. I did get one Beatle-related item. This is Elvis Costello and the Imposter's Purse, which 3,000 copies of this were made. They're not numbered, but this has got Elvis singing songs with Paul McCartney, Burt Bacharach, Johnny Cash, and Bob Dylan. There's the cover. There's an ad for his latest album, Look Now, which is a really good album. There's a Look Now singles box set coming out. And that says Watch This Space, so I guess there's some other Elvis thing upcoming. Inner sleeve has lyrics and recording information. And your record is, there's your label, black vinyl again. So just to kill the suspense, I didn't get anything with colored vinyl this time, not on purpose, but it just worked out that way. The other thing, this is a album-sized single, I guess, because there's only 2 songs on it. This is Joe Strummer, Forbidden City Demo and Cool Impossible. There's good old Joe Strummer of The Clash. And apparently there's an album or CD coming out collecting his music pre- and post-Clash, when he was in the 101ers and when he was solo after the Clash. So I've never heard either of these songs. Looking forward to seeing what they're about. It's got a, like I said, good picture of Joe on the front. Here's the inner sleeve. Some more information about the songs. And there is 1 song on each side, and there's your label. So, no idea what this is. We'll find out here sometime today. So yeah, good to have some Joe Strummer. Gone too soon and much missed. And finally, I didn't think they would have any of these in still, but they had 2 copies. I already have this album, but this is on mono, so I went ahead and picked it up. This is Pink Floyd, Saucer Full of Secrets, their second album. It's a mono copy, and I think it's got the track listing and the remastered information. There's your back of the album. Always like that cover, and the back too. I don't know if you can see that, but it looks like it's a flip back cover, but it's really not. The flip back is just printed onto the album. It's not a genuine flip back, unfortunately. So, but this is a good album. It's got Sid still around, sort of. He's got 1 song on here that he wrote and sings, and he plays on 3 or 4 other songs on here, but this is the last album that he would be on there with the band. And so if I were ranking Pink Floyd albums, this would probably be my second or probably be like my 3rd or 4th favorite, but it's a really good one. And said black vinyl again. You got your silver Columbia label, and really good album. Not quite as good as their best album, which is their first album, Piper at the Gates of Dawn. And probably I would put Adam Hartmother as second, and then this one is 3rd or 4th. But yeah, so Saucer Full of Secrets, and happy to have that. And that is it for albums that I bought at Record Store Day. Was disappointed not to find Badfinger and the Stax Does the Beatles thing. Considered the Lennon thing, like I said, but in the end, I already have all that stuff, so there's really no point. So that's the Record Store Day video. Hope you guys got everything that you wanted if you went out, and hope you didn't have to go out there and line up on Friday night or 4 in the morning like some people did. A couple of other recent purchases that I got that I'll talk about real quick. I think, if I remember right, I already talked about the deluxe box sets for Wildlife and Red Rose Speedway a few videos back. I haven't made a video in a while, so don't exactly remember. But anyway, I'm not going to show those again, but I'll check the videos. If I haven't, maybe I'll make a video showing those. Actually been really enjoying those. Those were two of my lesser favorite McCartney albums, but since having those and I've been playing them in the car, the CDs, they've gone up quite a bit, both of those albums, in my opinion. They're not my favorites of his still, but I like them a lot better than I did. Here's something I got that came out, I don't know, when did this come out? A couple of 2 or 3 weeks ago. Reissue of the White Album. It was only $38, so I went ahead and picked it up. I used to have a copy of this. I never had an original American or British copy. I used to have, that I got a copy of in the late 70s, was a Japanese copy that had an Obi strip, and it looked pretty much just like this, just with the Obi strip, as part of my collection that I sold back in probably the 90s or so, and later regretted. So I was happy to pick this up. I always kind of wanted to get it to fill in the collection. The Docs has a copy of this. I think it's an American and original copy, but it's like $125. It's kind of beat up, so I wasn't going to spend that much for it. And I've looked up to try to find an original copy in, you know, good to mint shape, and you're talking $100, $200. Didn't want to spend it for this album because, frankly, this album sucks, but being a Beatle fan and a completist, it's good to have these. So, I don't know if anyone's done a video of these, but there's the front copy. It's cover. It's a box set, of course. Inside the front cover, there's a copy of their marriage license. And then there's the back box. And the actual LP of them mugging on each other. And there's the back of the album, which is a pretty nice shot. And then there's the gatefold. It's a press conference in Amsterdam, I guess that was. And you pull out the album, and it's not on Apple, it's on a grapefruit label on white vinyl. They had, I wish I would have ordered these sooner, because they did, I think, only like 300 copy run on clear vinyl, and I wish I would have thought about it or known about it soon enough to get one of those, but the white vinyl's nice. So there's the album, and you get the Bagism bag with a picture of their wedding cake, and also in there is a postcard. It's upside down, but, and then behind that is like a photo booth, strip of snapshots of them. There is the, when I took the shrink wrap off, I kept that, this hype sticker. The wedding, which is a big poster that folds out and has quite a few single panel pictures. So you got that. This is a kind of a, I remember this, is just a funny poster thing of John drawing cartoon stuff. So that's kind of neat. I don't know if you can, those are kind of humorous drawings by John. And then this book is the press, which are press clippings about how John and Yoko and their crazy antics with bed ends and acorns and all that good fun stuff. So just press clippings and cartoons at the back, which are kind of funny, that are editorial cartoons from various newspapers around the world at that time. So that's neat, and that's good to have. I have Two Virgins and Life with the Lions, which I've had those since the late 70s. I still have them. I got this in the late 70s, and like I said, sold it and hadn't had a copy of it in 20, 25 years. All three of those albums I've tried on a few occasions, not very often because they're not any good, but I've tried every, I don't know, 5, 6, whatever years, I'll put it on and try to make it through them, one of them, and I never have been able to yet. But when I got this the other day, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I put it on, gave it another shot, and again, I wasn't successful. I got through a few minutes of side one, which is John and Yoko just saying each other's names, and I got through about 5 or 10 minutes of side two, which is, I don't really remember what's on it now, just playing guitar, and then there's talking like an interview or something. Pretty boring stuff, but those albums are fun. I like them, and I'll get to those when I do reviews of John. I'm doing George reviews right now, which I took a big long gap. It's been forever since I've done one, but I've got a couple of George albums to do, and I'd already done Paul, and so then I'll move on to John or Ringo next, and I'll talk more about those individual albums then. So there's the Wedding album. It's a fun thing to have. I probably won't try to play it again for another 5, 10 years, but we'll see. One last thing that I got recently, this book, and I should have looked, but let me check something real quick. And it probably doesn't say in here, does it? I should have done this before I turned the video camera on, huh? That's okay. Well, I don't know. This came out around 2012 or so. Mark Lewison's The Beatles All These Years Tune In. It's a biography of the Beatles. Probably the best biography of the Beatles. Of course, I've got a soft spot for the ones I grew up with, like Growing Up with the Beatles and Beatles Forever by Nicholas Schaffner and the Hunter Davies book. But this one is much more researched and thorough. Not that those aren't good books, they are, but this one is much better than those. And so, yeah, it came out probably, I don't know if it's been 10 years, but it's been several years ago. And so I got that. Very good Beatles book if you're a Beatles fan. Definitely pick this up. You probably already know about it if you're a Beatles fan, but this is the first of, I think, 3 planned volumes. I don't know when he's going to get around to the second and third. I hope soon, because it's been forever. But this one goes from the Beatles, basically from their birth, really before that, because it gets into their grandparents and great-grandparents and so forth. But basically from their birth up to 1962, the release of Love Me Do, and when they're on the cusp of stardom. So, and I guess the other 2 books are going to go through 1970 or whenever, when the Beatles broke up. I don't know if it's going to go beyond that or not, but great book, worth picking up if you haven't. And like I said, this came out 2011, 2012. I've read this, I think, 3 times. It's a great book. It is, as you can see, a thick book. It's 803 pages. Actually, it's more than that, but this in the back is the footnotes. So 803 pages of text. When this came out, I learned that there was a larger version, a deluxe version with more pages yet. And I was thinking, well, why didn't he just put the deluxe version out? And to add injury to insult, the deluxe version didn't come out in America. It only came out in England. This one came out in both countries. So I always thought it'd be nice to get the deluxe version, and I finally did, and I got it this week, and it came from in a box about this big, which I've thrown away, but I pulled it out, and just for comparison's sake, you can see that that's, anyway, so this is the deluxe version, and there's the Mark Lewison, there's the front, Tune In this extended special edition. And I don't know if you can see that on the top, but it's got his name embossed, and then on the bottom is some information there. So this opens up, take that off, and inside you've got volume 1 and volume 2 of the book, and you open that up, take the books out, and there's some information on Lewison. There's that, and you already saw that, and there's that, and you got the 2 books. This is volume 1, and I don't know if you can see what's embossed there or not, but it says The Beatles Tune In with Mark Lewison. It's that one's 803 pages, the regular edition. This is way more than that. This is like 16 or 1700 pages. You even got I don't know if you can see that, you got the little red cord to mark your space in the book. And here's volume 2 of the same book. It's got a really thick kind of canvas binding, very nice. It's got that wonderful new book smell to it. You got that, you got that, you got volume 2. You got your, it's a kind of a blue-gray cord on this book. So that's volume 2. I've already started reading this, and I'm about 50 pages into this one, which is the first volume. It wouldn't make sense to start in the second. And so the first volume alone is 746 pages, and the second volume of the book is, well, it goes, so it doesn't start over with the pages, so altogether it is, these are notes back here, but it's about 1,520 pages versus 803, so quite a bit more information. And from having remembered the other book, from having read it 2 or 3 times, I already noticed that there's quite a bit of extra information just in the first 50 pages. And so this is for the hardcore Beatle fan, obviously, but one of the best Beatle books. This was kind of funny when it had shrink wrap, and I didn't pay anywhere near that amount, $200 or $250 for it. Paid a pretty penny, but quite a bit less than that. But that was the price sticker on it. And yeah, it's just a great book. I really get into. I love the history of the getting into their great grandfathers and their grandfathers. And there was a John Lennon, who was John Lennon's grandfather, who was Alf Lennon's dad, who John never knew because he died in 1922 or something, or like 19, 20 years before John was born. And just packed with detail, but very readable. I mean, it's not a get bogged down with minutia where you're just bored to death slogging through it. It's a very readable book, and so yeah, worth it. And I hope that Lewison gets going and gets volume 2 out sometime in our lifetime, and the third one too, for that matter. Right, Arthur? Hope you guys had a good record store day. Hope you got everything you wanted, and I promise I'll be back with the George Harrison review someday.